My name is Cristen Reat, and I am with Bridging Apps, which is a program and a website of Easter Seals Greater Houston. I love the fact that Jordan asked that question and said that they're going to be hearing from Bridging Apps and talking about different apps. So that was a great kind of segue. So what I'm going to share with you today is a little bit about our program and our website, but mostly the topic is, hopefully I can make the clicker work correctly, is exploring what we call single-purpose apps as cognitive supports. So we're going to kind of talk about what that means. We're kind of dialing it back from virtual reality and machine learning and AI. This is just very low-tech, simple things that you can use on your smartphone and tablets that I'm going to be discussing today. So some of the apps you may have heard of, and some of them may be new to you. Just a little bit about me. I helped to start Bridging Apps, which basically our goal is to use what most people have, low cost, commercially available off-the-shelf mobile technologies, and using them with people with disabilities, all types of disabilities, not just cognitive disabilities, to help them reach their full potential. I'm the parent of 2 children. My younger son just turned 15. He was born with Down syndrome and other disabilities, vision impairment. He's on the autism spectrum, so we have a lot going on. And I basically helped to start a support group that was helping him, and we were working with our therapist. So I heard that there was an OT in the audience earlier. So we were working with OTs and speech pathologists when this technology was new, when it was just coming out in 2010. And it was the wild, wild west of app development. There was a huge new market for young children that hadn't been tapped before. So a lot of the early apps that came out were targeted for kids under the age of 5. So what we began doing is looking at all of these apps for our young children to help improve skills. We were all looking at things like fine motor skills, gross motor skills, language development, and things like that. So that's how we got started, and we became part of Easter Seals Greater Houston in 2011. And if you all don't know, I encounter lots of people who don't know what Easter Seals does, but basically nationally, and we are the largest provider of disability services outside of the government. So all types of disabilities. There's one affiliate in most major region or city, and based on the demographics of that city, there are programs and services that are wraparound services for those individuals. So what we do at Bridging Apps, we're an in-person program and also a website, bridgingapps.org, and we try to bridge this gap. I've heard a lot of discussion today just about, we all know it's pretty obvious that you can't just give someone technology and expect it to be a panacea and a silver bullet for solving all problems. That just does not happen. So in our, what we try to do through our website and through our assistive technology labs in the greater Houston area is we work with people of all different types of disabilities, including cognitive disabilities, and help them bridge that gap. So if we provided training in person, we try to push that out through our website, through newsletters, social medias, videos, and things like that. So we hope that if you've not visited Bridging Apps before, that you consider visiting the website, because we think that it's a shortcut for lots of people to find apps for different types of needs. So we have a database of about 3,200 apps. Those are both for iOS and Android platforms. We don't do too much with Kindle or Nook. We spend a lot of time doing app reviews, and it's not just me sitting around doing app reviews or writing app reviews. What we did early on is we wanted to connect with the early adopters who were professionals. So speech pathologists, special ed teachers, physicians, different assistive technology professionals who were using the devices when they first came out with different populations. And so what we're trying to do is crowdsource their knowledge, which is very siloed, and try to bring it into one place. So when you read an app review, it may be written by a special ed teacher, it may be written by a speech pathologist. So we kind of gather all this information and try to share it out with people who don't necessarily have access. We've encountered many people through our website who live in a rural area and have never had a speech pathologist for their child. or their loved one with a disability. So we spend a lot of time working on app reviews to give out free information that's high quality. My favorite section of the website is success stories. People write into us with how their smartphone has helped them in some way, and we also write lots of success stories just about the different people that we work with. We focus on hardware and accessories for smartphones and tablets, and usually I get a blank look. And what that means is basically the cases, the carrying systems, the styluses, different ways to access, different ways to use, mounts, switches. The Techless Shield is really helpful for people with a lot of mobility issues. So we try to put that information on the website too. We trial a lot of this in our assistive technology labs, and then we push that out so that lots of people can have access to that information, because you can get a lot of that stuff on Amazon today. We also do programs and trainings all around the country, not just in Houston. So I am going to I'm going to kind of introduce a little really short clip from a video, because as we launch into the topic of single-purpose apps as a cognitive support, a friend of mine who is the husband of one of my dear coworkers I think can really describe what his smartphone means to him better than I can. So I'd like to roll that video to kind of start the conversation.
Seniors.
I suffered a stroke and I ultimately got a PhD in geology, 20 years in geologist and ExxonMobil, iPhone or iPad.
Sorry, can you restart it with captions? I want to make sure. Were they on there? Okay, sorry.
I had truly like second brain, So we reduced a lot of worry about, I don't want to forget the midtimes and everything. Keep track of the weather, keep track of whereabouts. I use YouTube because a lot of tutorials, so it's really convenient, able to learn basically no effort. Portable devices are really easy. A lot of apps and all that. You play a game, but I feel like productive game. Seems like an iPad and all that, or iPhone is really very convenient to get around cognitive shortfalls and even create notes too without typing.
A lot of it translates across disability, across age.
So I wanted you to hear from Lincoln because he kind of encapsulates what a lot of our clients and different people that I've spoken with, they consider their smartphone their second brain. I just love that. And he really expressed eloquently that it helps them get around cognitive shortfalls. So that's launching into this topic of single-purpose apps as a cognitive support. So let me just go to the next slide there. So we look at a lot of apps. We have lots of people who look at a lot of apps and share that information with us. And so what has emerged over the years are something that we just kind of term single-purpose apps. And so we felt that we should define it and just talk about it and the features, and it may make sense to you. It makes sense to a lot of us because it's when we're working with someone, and there's a large cognitive range. When you say cognitive disability, there are people who are much more functional than other people. So when I'm talking about single-purpose apps, I'm not saying that people with cognitive disabilities cannot use more complex apps, but we have found a lot of success with these types of apps and just wanted to introduce the concept. This is where we start a lot of places because this is where people are finding success. So we're defining a single-purpose app as an app that is designed to do one thing. It has a single function. So unlike a lot of apps that are platforms that have all types of menus, options, soft buttons that are within the app that are very complex, a single-purpose app is designed to do just one thing. The features that we have kind of looked at as we looked at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of apps is that they have an uncluttered interface. They're mostly age neutral. That's not always the case, but ideally we would love to see them age neutral so that you can use them with lots of different individuals. Often they have only one or two screens. I'll show you some examples of those. They require minimal to zero setup. Many of them just launch into what that they're supposed to do. And we also like the fact that some of them are customizable with limits. And I'll talk a little bit about that, but that's important for caregivers. That's also important for the individual with a cognitive disability themselves, is to have limits and boundaries for certain types of apps, especially when it comes to medication and health issues. We think that single-purpose apps assist with motor planning because people get used to, and again, speech pathologists love this. There are a lot of speech augmentative communication apps that are based around motor planning, and that basically means that somebody knows that this one does that one thing and it's in the same place every time. So someone gets used to the fact that they know that this blue thing does that one thing that I need it to do. It may seem super obvious, like, oh, what's the big deal? It's pretty obvious. They just use simple apps. Well, the big deal is that for people in the trenches every day, for the technology that's available today and more accessible to anyone today, I just read a statistic for Pew Research Center that 95% of teens have access to a smartphone now. So if you extrapolate, and one in 5 people has a disability, that's a lot of teenagers with disabilities using smartphones. So using a single-purpose app lowers the cognitive load. They're not spending all of their time trying to figure out what it's supposed to do and how to work it. There's more consumer buy-in. For anyone who's worked in the assistive technology field, we know that you have to include the person, the individual, in that process of selection of assistive technology. So if there's buy-in for something that's easy to use, that they can see, then there's greater potential for success, for functional use of that device to help the person, because that's the whole goal of technology. Technology is not a magic bullet. I'll say it again, not a silver bullet, not a panacea. It's a tool. It's a powerful tool, and we're lucky to have these today at this level. It provides for it supports independence quickly. So again, for these apps that don't require a whole lot of things to learn, you can learn them quickly. And so not independence in all areas, but in certain areas, for some people, it's been a difference from night and day between functional capability more independently in a particular area. It provides for a defined safe zone. Like I said, there are going to be some settings in there that you want to set up, especially for medication apps. It integrates into your daily life quickly. That's another benefit. Some single-purpose apps were never designed for special needs, but what we love at Bridging Apps is for all of the brains who are using all these devices with different populations is that they have discovered amazing creative uses for those apps that they were never designed for. And a lot of those apps happen to be single-purpose apps. One of my favorite ones, has anybody used the Talking Tom apps? They were some early apps. I see one back there. And so there's a whole series now. It's basically an app that it's one screen, a cat comes up, and it repeats everything that you say in a high-pitched voice. It's hilarious. Well, speech pathologists started using this particular app because they discovered in working with people with autism who are nonverbal, especially children, verbalized when using that app. So that became a reward in a speech therapy session. So we love stories like that. If anyone in the room has a statistic for me, I would love to have it, because when I was trying to look at current AT abandonment rates, I've just found this huge range. So I threw this up there, that 25 to 75% of AT users abandon their device within 3 years. And that's just huge. Some of the common reasons were the lack of knowledge. They're too difficult. They had unrealistic expectations of what it was supposed to do for them, how it was supposed to improve their life or their function. I think Director Martin talked about the huge Dynabox that his son had no interest in. I mean, that thing is huge if you've ever seen one. So feelings of embarrassment due to excessive attention, negative social judgment about using the devices, poor fit with the user's need, and a mismatch between someone's cognitive ability and the sophistication of the AT device. That happens all the time in school districts that we work with. So user benefits, I'm going to kind of speed up here because I don't have a whole lot of time. Greater independence, again, we already talked about, reduces frustration level. You can learn a task and a function really quickly. Greater success, and then confidence to add other tools to the toolbox, adding other apps, training on other apps to help improve somebody's function. And it links this particular tool with a functional need. So kind of like a one-to-one. This one does that one thing. Socially acceptable. These are not big, clunky medical devices that make you look different. This makes you feel included. And again, a safe zone. So I'm going to show you, I was going to switch in back and forth with my iPad, and that would take too much time. So what I did is I put a series of screenshots of some apps that I'm going to go through and show you as just examples. So whenever I'm asked to demonstrate apps, it's really anguishing because it's hard to know which ones to show. So I just chose a sampling. So some of the supports from single-use apps that I'm going to show you is medication management. This is one I've mentioned a couple times. This is so huge for this population, for many people with cognitive disabilities and multiple disabilities. Traveling without in-person assistance, again, that independence of not having someone over your shoulder all of the time. Maps, things that speak to you to tell you which way to go, are incredibly important. Communicating in new and creative different ways. Has anyone ever heard of or used the Marco Polo walkie-talkie app? Anybody heard of that one? So Marco Polo is one that we've been using. It basically records a video message that you can then share with somebody else who's in your social network in the app. So people can actually see somebody's face, and instead of leaving an audio message, you can leave a video message for them. So we've been using that with people with different cognitive disabilities. Task analysis, tool for learning new skills, so breaking tasks down into really small parts or visual schedules. We've been using these as an employment support to Fate a job coach, which again, talk about cost savings and that person breathing over your shoulder when you're trying to start a new job. You want to get rid of that job coach as soon as possible. And also self-regulation, increasing stress reduction. These are just an example of some of the populations that we have worked with in the Houston area that we've used some of these apps with. We have a project at a children's hospital, also with an assisted living facility, residents who are fairly independent, but all of them have some type of cognitive decline, and many of them have different dementias. So again, very difficult to decide what to show, but I'm just going to go through some screenshots of some apps that we have used. Anybody Pillboxy user in here? You have a Pillbox? Okay, so Pillboxy is an app that is a visual medication reminder. It literally is just a screen or two. And so the screenshot that you see right there is basically a visual. You can take a picture of your actual medication. And what you do when you set the times that you're supposed to take it, you drag that little pill, drag it down into a pill box. So it's just fantastic. There are lots of different chimes and different tones that you can use to remind you. So again, someone can learn to be much more independent with their medication using an app like this because it is so visual and because they actually do the movements themselves. My coworker actually uses it with her loved one with a disability, and every Sunday night they sit and they have a real pill box and they have all the medications set out and they practice on the app first. And so this is just a great cognitive tool. You practice it over and over again, and it's really helped in the support of having her loved one be much more independent with medication. So Pillboxy is available, I think, only on iOS devices. So not all of these are for both platforms, but some of them are. How many people have used PDF Expert? Anybody used a document editor ever? So PDF Expert, which is not shown here, but PDF Expert is just a document editor that I find very complicated. It's basically you take a picture of something and you have all these different choices about what to do with it. SnapType Pro is an app that was developed by an awesome occupational therapist in graduate school. So she developed this to solve a problem with some of the students that she was working with. You basically take a picture of a worksheet of something that needs to be filled out. And if you look, I'm going to see if I can use this. If you look at the top left at the circle, and then there's an oval on the right that's black, that's a slider. And so you can slide it with your finger to make the font huge. So you don't have to go back into your settings and change the font. You can do it right within the app and make it big. You also have a choice of different highlighters. I have it highlighted on yellow. And you can basically independently fill out a form My 15-year-old son does not write, will never write, does not hold a pencil, but he can do this app to do worksheets, to do forms. And then when you, in the top right, you can see there's the share sheet. It's really basically how you share something. It's the little square with the arrow that goes out the top. When you export that out, it doesn't have the highlighting in and it doesn't have the large font. So again, you can use this in lots of different areas. You can think of lots of different areas to use it with. We've used it with a lot of kids in reaching transition age that are never going to drive, but they still need to get a state identification card. So that's the example I have here of the form that they have to fill out. But if some of them don't write, then they have to have somebody to do that for them. So that is called SnapType Pro. CanTunes. This was an app that was developed out of the University of Victoria in Canada. It's literally 2 screens. This is a music player. So basically you can import your music from iTunes, and it imports like all of the art from the album. So a lot of people really, really love this, especially the older adult population, because now that we download music all the time, we don't necessarily see the art from like the record albums or the CDs that we used to buy. And this has really connected a lot of older adults that we've used this with memories and recalling and just socially connecting with others. But basically this app, you can, the screen on the left, you can choose the number of albums that appear on the screen. I have it set right now to 12, so you see 12 circles. And again, the little slider at the top, the little dot, you can move that back and forth with your finger for the volume. So lots of people have trouble figuring out on their phones, where is that volume? And some people with physical issues can't get there. But here it's just a slider. You can make it as loud or quiet as you want. The rectangles on the right and the left at the bottom are basically to go to the next screen. So that's how somebody could tap and go to a whole other set of music. So they can go forward and backwards, rather than trying to do it through iTunes or something else that's a lot more difficult. So it promotes listening to music independently. They also have a timer built in where, let's say somebody likes to listen to music when they fall asleep, but physically they can't get up out of their bed and go and turn it off, or they can't physically move their hand to do that. You can set a timer to do that. So that's an app that we really love to promote independence. We've used it with lots of different ages. Simply Saying. This is an app that was developed by child life specialists out of Arizona in a hospital. And we love it because it just has a few screens. And it helps explain medical procedures. Again, people with disabilities have a lot of, sometimes, not always, have a lot of medical conditions. And sometimes things are done to them all the time that they don't understand what's being done. So this is a simple way to explain and show and have someone participate in what is going to be done to them. Blood draws, chest tubes, endoscopies, colonoscopies. There's a little glossary that explains stuff. There is where it says preps. It explains preps with pictures of machinery like an X-ray machine or an MRI machine. And then my favorite section, which is the screenshot on the right, is of a person's body and their heart. And at the very bottom, again, you see that slider where you can slide it back and forth to make the marker bigger or smaller, fatter or thinner, and you can choose a color. So imagine sitting with someone, explaining what's about to happen, or even practicing it days before, and then clearing it out and having them also re-describe it or talk it through. It's a talk through. It's a way to talk through. So it was designed for medical professionals and for families, but we've used it for all types of things, for even in health classes, teaching parts of the body. So many people with disabilities do not get health if they're enrolled in special education. They know nothing about their bodies unless it's done at home. So we think this is a really great app. It's also available in Spanish, so you can just switch it into Spanish. I know there was a whole other session on augmentative alternative communication, but I thought this app was just too important not to include. This is called FlipWriter AAC. This is a super cool app. Has anyone used this app? This was designed for people who are deaf and hard of hearing to have really basic communication conversations, and also designed to have them privately. So it's literally this screen. There are just a couple of settings. And what you do is you type in your message. It has word prediction in the middle. And then you see the same words flipped upside down. Those upside down words are for your communication partner. So you're having a conversation, and then they see exactly what you're saying. Then that person can then respond by speech to text. They can actually respond, say something, and it will record and type out their message back to the person. So you can have a conversation back and forth. We've used it with lots of different people of different ages in different environments. Assisted living, maybe you don't want your roommate, or skilled nursing, you don't want your roommate to hear necessarily what you're saying, but you know language and you can type this out to talk to your nurse or to talk to the aide that is about to do something that might be that you don't want your roommate or somebody to hear. We've used it in restaurants. Some people stop going out to restaurants because the ambient noise is so loud, they just feel like they can't participate. Well, people have actually used this to participate in a conversation in restaurants. This is one other video. It has no sound. This is a very short video clip of one of our clients named Clark, and he was a firefighter, and he was injured during his work in Hurricane Harvey. Gonna get emotional. Anyway, he has an injury, and he's using an app. You can see he's using a stylus.
Did you get that?
I did. After his injury, he found it very difficult to use his smartphone, and even more difficult to use the keyboard on his smartphone. He couldn't text, he couldn't communicate. And so we tried a lot of different things, and then we ran across this app, which is called DioPen Script. It's a keyboard add-on. There are lots of awesome adaptive keyboards out there for smartphones and tablets. If you've never looked, just lots of awesome ones for all types of different needs. And this one worked for him because he wanted to write, and it basically transforms his writing into text. And then he can share that. He can send it as a text message. He can send it as an email. And so this has been a life changer for him. So just a quick wrap up here. Again, in talking about single purpose apps that we've used a lot, consider starting with using them. If you're introducing technology with somebody or they're getting one of these devices, in order for them to be successful, match apps to the needs and the desire of the user, always person-centered. They have to be involved in this process. Offer them a menu of options to choose from. Start with one or two of the apps so that you have lots of practice for skill mastery before you move on to something else. That's just true for lots of things when you're learning something new. One tip that we found very helpful in working with lots of different people is setting up fewer apps per screen to reduce confusion. So we have one client who actually has one app per screen on their phone, and they've memorized the count. So they know that thing that does that thing that they need is on the third screen, and they just count 1, 2, 3, and then they launch it. So that is their strategy that they came up with. But just in general, having lots of apps in folders and things becomes very confusing. So we recommend setting up fewer apps per screen. So of course I had to throw in a picture of my child a few years ago. I used this as an illustration. He is using an app that is no longer available called Dragboard. It was basically, everybody grew up with those refrigerator magnets, right? That looks familiar. So this was an app version of that. And this is how he used to do his spelling words in school, because he didn't write, right? And he wasn't really good at typing at that time. So he used Dragboard to do all of his spelling words. And that app is no longer available. So that is kind of a caveat for lots of apps we have seen come and go, which is why you don't necessarily want to become dependent on just one. And what we're trying to do is always keep up with the technology, keeping up with which apps are available, which apps go away. We're in touch with a lot of developers, so we sometimes even just ask them, hey, is this one ever coming back? So just have a lot of options for people to try and use, and we've I'm going to show you, and actually I'll go to that right now. We are integrating a category of single-purpose apps on the Bridging Apps website because we think it's so important. Right now, it just exists as a list. So we have a list of maybe 25 of our favorite ones that we have found helpful for people, for both iOS and Android. And these are just a list of some of them, and I'll just leave this screen up. Some of them you've seen and some of them you haven't. And the last thing I would say is if you are using apps in your work, if you're using apps personally, I would love to connect with you and find out what you're using. And again, we're always looking for reviewers. So if you get excited about this, then please contact me and we would love to talk to you about reviewing. It's a very simple process. And we also try to pay a little bit because we recognize that people, we really value their expertise and we want to get out of this siloed stuff. And put it all together to be able to help people as much as possible. So I'm going to go on to the next one, which is basically just my contact information. So I think that's all I have, and I think I finished almost on time, so we have time for a couple of questions if you'd like, but that's pretty much it. Thank you so much.